Hello and welcome or welcome back to the Key to Fashion YouTube channel. So you all, we're in London right now, and of course I had to take you all thrift shopping and vintage shopping with me. So right now we are at Oxfam in Covent Garden, and this is a charity shop also known as a thrift store. And this is the only charity shop that you all are going to see in this video. All of the other stores are going to be vintage stores because that was mostly what I found in Covent Garden. And I want to state early on that there's a complete difference between charity shops and vintage stores in London. There's a difference in prices as well as in inventory. At Oxfam, I was finding a lot of fast fashion brands such as Zara, and although I do like Zara now, I wasn't looking for Zara. I was absolutely looking for vintage, but I was still grateful for the experience, and I'm excited to show you all of the other stores that I got to check out. So we made it to our first vintage store called Wow Retro, and Wow Retro was really unique. They had a lot of items that ranged from the 40s all the way to the early 2000s, which I really liked. Now, of course, they also had vintage store prices, which I will show you all in this clip. But I liked this store a lot, and although I didn't find anything to purchase, I was definitely searching for some time. I still really like this store, and I also want to mention that I was being really intentional about what I was purchasing. I was more so looking for vintage accessories than clothes because I already own a lot of clothes and I also didn't have much room left in my suitcase. But I'm going to montage this out so I can give you all a feel of what Wow Retro was all about. The next vintage store that we're strolling to right now is called Blackout II, and you're not going to see a lot of clips of Blackout II in this video because we weren't allowed to take any videos or any pictures. And I did not even know that until a man walked in and he asked immediately, "Can I take some videos?" And the owner responded, "No, but you can shop." And the look on his face, he was stunned, and I had to hold myself back from laughing. But I was also thinking to myself, did she not see me filming? Because I was recording. But I said, you know what, out of respect, let me stop filming. So like I said, you're not going to see a lot of clips, but it was a really unique store. It had a lot of gems, and I definitely wish I could have showed you all a lot more. But like I said, we weren't allowed to take any videos or any pictures at all. The next vintage store that we're checking out is called Pop Boutique. And now Pop Boutique was just right down the street from Blackout 2. And what I liked about this was that all of the vintage stores were in a cluster. So I didn't have to walk far at all. And what I also liked is that every vintage store had its own character, its own feel, and its own vibe. And that's the best way I can describe Pop Boutique. Pop Boutique had its own feel, its own vibe, and of course, it also had some really, really unique gems. The next vintage store that we're checking out is called Past Trash. And now Past Trash had a very unique name to me because the name said one thing, but the inside of the store told a completely different story. The store actually reminded me of stores that I would see on Newbury Street, which is a very popular street in Boston. It just gave me that feel and that vibe, especially with the white hangers and the fact that there wasn't a lot of inventory in the store, and it was really more so about the aesthetics. It just gave me that vibe. I didn't find much, but I did find that mirror right there, and I found myself standing in front of that mirror and taking a lot of pictures and a lot of videos. I know they were like, "Girl, are you coming in here to shop? Are you coming in here to take pictures?" I'm like, I'm coming in here to do both. And I just like the fact that the name said one thing, but the store told a completely different story. But I did like Past Trash, and I definitely wish that I found something that I would have loved to purchase, but overall, I'm still really grateful for the experience. We arrived to our next vintage store called Vintage Threads. And now Vintage Threads definitely stood out to me a lot because it was the only vintage store that had streetwear, and it was also the only vintage store that had upcycled and reworked items. And I really like upcycled and reworked items, and I actually want to challenge myself to learn how to upcycle and rework my own items. And I find myself thinking back to when I was a child and my grandmother was trying to teach me how to sew, and I just thought it was so boring. I just thought it was so boring as a child. And she would always tell me, listen, one day you're gonna wish you learned how to sew. One day you're gonna wish you learned how to sew. And I have no idea how that woman knew I would be into fashion, but she was right. Because here I am wishing I learned how to sew, but at the same time, I am for the challenge and I'm excited to learn right now. So there was so many dope gems at Vintage Threads. This particular jacket, I believe, was 140 pounds. And like I stated, vintage shop prices and charity shop prices in London are two different things. And I would also say in the States as well. But I really liked this store a lot. And I also really liked the layout of the store. Right now, we're in the downstairs section of the store. And I just liked the layout. I liked the art on the wall and the sneakers on the wall. I just thought this store had a really, really dope vibe. Here's one of the kind employees showing me some pants that he created himself, and I thought these pants were really unique. We have arrived at Pick and Wait, which is a vintage kilo store. And now this store is huge, you all. I knew immediately when I walked in and I stood at the top of those stairs that I was going to be inside this store for a very, very long time. And that's exactly what happened. But I mean, there was so many different sections, and I'm talking about gems galore. And this was also my first time at a kilo vintage store. This is my very, very, very first time. So as you can see, here's the scale with all of the different colored tags. And now what you will do, you will put your item inside of that scale and you will press the color and it will tell you the exact price of your item. And I just really enjoy this experience. And I found myself picking up so much stuff. And I'm thinking, girl, where are you gonna put all of these items? You don't have any room in your suitcase. But I was just getting too excited. And luckily, none of the items I liked, because this is the thing when it comes to shopping at thrift stores and shopping at vintage stores. I always recommend that you try your items on. I know sometimes people can be really apprehensive about trying on items, but listen, if you don't want to go home with things that don't fit right or they don't look right on you, I recommend that you try your items on, because sometimes you can see an item and it can look one way, but when you try it on, it can look a completely different way. But let me montage this out so I can give you all a chill feel of what Pick and Wait was all about. Last but not least, here we are in front of one of my favorite vintage stores in London called Rocket. Now, this was my first time checking out the Rocket in Covent Garden, and I really liked this location. And I was also really grateful that I found some great accessories to walk away with, because at first I was thinking, am I gonna find any accessories at all? But Rocket did not disappoint. I ended up finding a really stylish handbag and a really eccentric belt that I am excited to style. And these were the gems that I walked away with. But thank you all so much for tuning into this video, and I hope you all enjoyed it.